ॐ सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति। ॐ समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम्। So Hari Om and salutations to all. We did the first half of the first line of the pledge. We stand as one family. So that is in the acronym of teamwork. That is the first alphabet, which is T. T is for togetherness. And we saw how to stay together, how to generate that feeling of togetherness, why it is important. Our vision is very high. For that, it is necessary to work together as a team. Now, going ahead from there, so the next part of the line is we stand as one family, bound to each other with love and respect. So from there is what we will pick up: love and respect. Bound to each other with love and respect. Both are very important in daily life as well as in working together as a team. Love without respect, if we have, that person will feel taken for granted completely. Typically, it happens many times. We love the mother, but we don't respect her enough. So one takes her for granted. Love without respect will lead to that. And respect without love, we respect many people. We don't necessarily love them. Like Gurudev used to say, we respect great scientists, but we don't have to love them. Where love and respect come together, that is called reverence. The healthy attitude of head and heart coming together, where each one has their space also, they are respected for who they are and loved for who they are. Respect and love. When we see the goodness of people, see their great strengths, their capabilities, then we respect them. And when there is a feeling of oneness or a certain identification, then there is love. When both these come together, that is the most healthy relationship. As a leader, it is very important for us to develop the capability to see the good, identify the good in the other team members. And each one of us is a leader. We may be formally leading certain groups, certain teams, but even otherwise, informally, there is somebody looking up to us at home or at workplace or in the mission, anywhere. So our behavior will impact their minds. So we should know how to identify what are the strengths of a person and then how those can be channelized for the vision, for the great work that we have to do of Hindu revival, of nation building, of reaching knowledge to the maximum people. There is nobody who is useless. If we lack respect for somebody, it means we are not seeing their good points, their strengths, and we are looking at only certain preconceived notions in our mind, and we are allowing our raga and dvesha to take over. So respect comes when we consciously identify the goodness. And love comes when there is identification, when we feel that we all are one family, or when we feel, like Gurudev used to give the example of this. I won't narrate it in detail, we have less time, but he would always say, that there was this train ticket collector, and TC, and he came in the train, and there's one passenger who was sitting, he didn't have a ticket. So his first reaction was, you have to pay the fine or you get out in the next station. And he started talking like that. And this passenger started explaining to him that, sir, I have a lot of problem. Please help me a little bit, adjust. I have only this much, can you help me, and all that. In that, this person blurted out one word in Malayalam. Then the TC said, "You are Malayali?" He said, "Yes, I am a Malayali." Which city from, which place? I don't understand this one thing. 90% of people of Kerala are in Palakkad, I think. Any person you meet, they say Palakkad. So he said, I am from Palakkad. He said, you are from Palakkad? I am also Palakkad. Which village, which city, which street? This street. Acha, my house is also in that street. Which house number? This is my house number. Oh, I am just 3 houses before you. You are this person's son. Oh, okay, got it. Now all his anger, everything went away. They both became pals. And then he says, okay, we'll manage for today. It's all right. Suddenly what happened? Because there's a sense of identification, there is love, and all that sense of, you should pay a fine, you should get down, all that has gone away. Like that, wherever identification comes, and identification can come at any level. Highest level in Vedanta says that we all are expressions of same self. So self in me, self in all. That is the highest level of identification. Or if we say we all are living beings, or we all are human beings, or we all are Indians, or we all belong to a Hindu community, or anything, at any level we identify with, love will come there. Egos dissolve and one feels a certain love for each other. So in that same way, one family, one team, we have to identify. So both these are very important. Respect comes when we look at the goodness. And love is generated when we identify oneness. So oneness and goodness, these two are things we should consciously work upon. If we are lacking some respect for somebody, start consciously identifying what is this person good at. And if that person is good at something which I am not good at, then the respect will increase more. Because this person can do what I can't do. So then I know that for achieving this goal, what I cannot do, somebody else is there with me. So then we are able to complement each other and work towards the goal and achieve the goal. So goodness of people is very important to identify. Generally, our mind starts finding flaws and weakness. Then we say this person is not good, that person is not good, I can't work with this person, I can't work with that person. And finally what happens? Swamiji, is very difficult. I don't find any capable person, so I have to do all the work by myself only. And it's very pressurizing, Voluntary work is very difficult. It's difficult because you are not seeing goodness and you are not identifying. Otherwise, there's enough people who can do so many things. And if you have open mind, then everybody will come and work also. And many things can be achieved that way. Gurudev, what did Gurudev do? He identified now what is the goodness of each person. Did he say everybody is useless? Think about it, just one simple point. From his standpoint, will any of us match his standards? We cannot come close anywhere to what his great standards are. If he had maintained only that, I'm not finding the right person, you see, when I find the right person, then I will do. Then he would have been waiting only. One beautiful saying, the master does not judge your ability or inability, he wants your availability. If availability is there, then it is up to the leader how to make use of that person who is available to serve. His efforts, his talents can be utilized. So love and respect comes then when we start identifying the goodness beyond weakness. I'm not saying don't be aware of their weakness, but be focus on the goodness more than weakness and oneness. So that's why beautiful quotes of Gurudev here are, everyone wants love and craves for genuine love. It is the greatest persuasive power on earth. Spiritual life must make our heart full of love. Think about it. Did we go to Gurudev because he had a great oratorical skills, great organizational abilities, great knowledge of Vedanta? That also, there's no doubt. But we went to Gurudev because love. We felt accepted. We felt loved. We felt that he knows us. He feels for us. He is special. We are special to him. That is love. So many people who have done such wrong things also were accommodated by Gurudev, and they transformed because of his love. One brahmachari ran away with Guru Dakshina. Can you believe? At the end of a yajna, Guru Dakshina ceremony happens where you take the Guru Dakshina, then the counting happens by the committee. That brahmachari, after the whole counting is over, he ran away with that money. How long did that money last? After some time, he came back crying. Now, Gurudev could have said, "You fellow, you ran away, you betrayed me, get out." He accepted him, he forgave him because that person was repenting genuinely. He accepted him back, saying, "Chalo." That is the magnanimity. And that transforms the person. How much guilt, pressure, fear, all that that person would have lived in. When Gurudev accepted him back, so light-hearted and fully dedicated to serve. Faults appear thick when love is thin. This is one of the famous quotes of Gurudev. Before marriage, the reverse happens. One doesn't see the faults. And one is so fascinated by that person and one wants to marry and live the whole life and all that. Suddenly, after marriage, what happens? Faults start becoming thicker, love becomes thin. And I'm not saying only in formal marriage, in any relationship, you can apply this. Initially, there is so much of fascination for each other and one does work together and everything is very hunky-dory. After some time, ego starts playing. That's why Gurudev said in life, to handle yourself, use your head. To handle others, use your heart. Not that we should not be loving and compassionate to ourselves, but be compassionate and kind to others. Not critical of them, continuously judging them, blaming them, labeling them. Then we can't be good leaders, we can't build good teams, we can't even be good human beings. So these are beautiful guides from Puja Gurudev. What exactly is love? His definition is this: identification with the beloved when the two become one. That is love. Now we stand as one family, bound to each other with love and respect. You know, in the book called I Love You, Gurudev says that everybody wants love, but nobody is ready to give love. When we are ready to give love, then we will receive also. If we keep waiting, then we will not get. Now, one important thing is, I can give only what I have. If I cannot love myself, I can't love others. So it is not that we should not love ourselves, but if we love only ourselves, then there is a problem. So first, it starts with love myself. Many people cling in a relationship, become dependent, helpless, victims, because they don't find the source of love in their heart. So they need somebody to cling to who will make them feel loved, worthy, strong. But that is where the clinging finally pulls down both. So don't encourage the poor me syndrome, the self-pity syndrome. You know, there is a kitty party that people have, kitty party. They get together and they have some games and some food and enjoyment, etc. Kitty party everybody is familiar with. But a lot of people indulge in pity party. They go on engaging in self-pity. Poor me, what can I do? You know, life is so unfair. I don't think I can do much things. One goes on blaming oneself, condemning oneself. Such people can't be strong givers of love. They can't build teams then, because even through the team, they want only their approval, their validation. They want to feel glorified because that gives them a sense of self-worth. Because there will be some inferiority deep within. So don't let the mind engage in this self-pity. How? By knowing what are one's own strengths, having a good opinion about oneself, and loving oneself genuinely. If one does this, one will feel strong from within, then one can go out and give love. So when we say that bound to each other with love and respect should be there in myself, for myself first, before we can offer it to others. That's why in the Gita Bhagavan says, don't condemn yourself. Na atmanam avasadayet. Even if there is a weakness, I can strive to overcome the weakness. But I don't have to feel I am weak. So the mantra for that is very simple. I have a weakness, I am not weak. Most of the time we go on saying, I am weak, I am miserable, I can't do this, I can't do that. Now a simple exercise I will tell you. Lift your hand, everybody. You have to do what I am doing, okay? And say what I am saying. I am not perfect, but I am fine. Okay, once again. I am not perfect, but I am fine. We are not perfect. We are on a journey to perfection. There are weaknesses in all of us. But if we say, I am weak, Swamiji, what can I do? Nothing can happen. Go on crying. Then that is not correct. We will waste our potential and we'll waste other people's time also. So anytime one feels, I am a victim, I am not good, self-pity one is doing, then tell this, I am not perfect, but I am fine. I will overcome. Whatever weakness I have, it will come over, I will overcome them. And if you want, every day draw one dot, one circle on your right thumb if you are a righty, or a left thumb if you are a lefty. Draw one circle. And why should you draw that circle? To whenever you look at that circle will point inside, saying that you are perfect. Purnata is your swarup. A hero will always depend on oneself. Please mute the person. Why are people getting unmuted on themselves? You should change that setting. So again, lift your hand and hold like this. The thumb and this index finger, okay? Now, when you draw the circle on your thumb, the thumb will point to you. A hero will always say, what life brings, I don't have control on that, but how I respond is in my control. Hero will always look like this, do like this. A victim will do like this. You are the reason. Because of you, this is happening. Because of you, that is happening. You are the reason. Because of this is not happening. You caused all this trouble. A victim will always blame other people. Hero will say, it is my responsibility. How I respond is my choice. What comes to me, there is no choice in that. How I respond is my choice. And let me look at that circle inside on my thumb, that my nature is Purnata. I don't have to put myself down, pity myself. When I start looking at goodness in me, then I will start looking at goodness in others also. Then I will not have jealousy. Otherwise, when I don't look at goodness in me and I see some goodness outside, some talent outside, then I start feeling jealous. Oh, this person is going to hog all the limelight. You know, this person is so good. I don't think I can compare. So let me pull that person also down. And that is jealousy. That is petty. So look at the goodness in yourself and look at goodness in others. That's how we transform the jealousy. And in their goodness and in their strength, we will feel happy because we are secure from inside. Such people build beautiful teams. Otherwise, few people come together, each one of them insecure by themselves, not ready to look at their own goodness, then there will be only confusion everywhere. So we stand as one family, bound to each other with love and respect. What mantra did Gurudev give to us? I can, I must, I will. Whoever has that mantra in life, the whole book is called We Must. So in that it comes, we can, we must, we will. Very positive book. So when we want to spread love and happiness to people, we should have that in our heart first. So we stand as one family, bound to each other with love and respect. We serve as an army, second line, courageous and disciplined. So now in the acronym of teamwork, T is for togetherness, which is we stand as one family. E is for empathy, which is bound to each other with love and respect. A is alertness. Army is symbol of alertness. And Gurudev says here, we serve as an army. So why should we serve first of all? Because when we serve, we express love through our service. A mother serves the child, the family, because she loves. Service is an expression of love. It is not some drudgery, some mechanical job or something that I hate to do and I drag myself through it. Then it is not service. It is not seva. And highest we know that love towards the Lord is bhakti. And seva is, I am doing all this because Bhagwan put me here. It is my worship of the Lord. So that's the attitude of the bhakta. It helps to become selfless, purifies our mind. So we should always remember this, that we are not doing seva to anybody. We are not doing any favor to anybody. What we are doing is our own sadhana for our own chitta shuddhi. So Gurudev says here, we serve as an army, and that service must be with discipline. Because we are not serving anybody as a favor. We are doing it humbly out of our dedication and our efforts to purify our mind. And service with discipline will bring credibility. If service is without discipline, there is no dependability, there is no credibility. Suppose one takes up a particular role, then disciplined way one should report properly, inform properly, communicate properly, organize properly, execute meticulously. Then people know that this person is dependable. If you give some work, this person will do it. But suppose someone takes a work and then doesn't do it properly, doesn't inform, doesn't communicate, does all by oneself somehow something, then but the credibility is not built. You know, Puja Guruji Swami Tejomayanand used to give this example earlier. When he was posted in the in Kanpur, he was a young brahmachari that time, and you know they were to organize a yajna of Puja Gurudev. So there was one particular person, elderly senior person there, and he is a very young brahmachari. The senior person there, he is in charge of booking the ground and all that. So few months before, Guruji had asked him, "आपने कर दिया काम?" So he said, "आप चिंता मत करो ब्रह्मचारी जी, हो जाएगा." Like that, 4-5 times on different occasions, as the time kept coming closer, Guruji kept asking, "आपने किया, क्या हुआ इसका?" All that. हो जाएगा, हो जाएगा, हो जाएगा. Now finally Guruji thought that this person, something is wrong, he is not going to do. He told somebody else, they finished the booking, and then in the next meeting that gentleman came and said, ब्रह्मचारी जी ये ग्राउंड का बुकिंग हो गया. सो इमीडिएटली देखिए देखा ब्रह्मचारी जी, हमने बोला था ना आप चिंता मत करो, हो जाएगा, मतलब हो गया. देखो there are such people also who are there, on whom one can go on thinking they will do, but if their discipline is not there, meticulousness is not there, proper planning, organizing, all that is not there, then service will not be possible properly, and then that person will not be credible. Now that person feels left out after that, they are not including me in any team, because you did not build your credibility. You build that credibility, people will include you. And Gurudev, he was very particular about discipline. I remember one place in Coimbatore, Gurudev has been going there to do yajnas for many years. Now these are last few years of Gurudev's life. And really, in those times, Gurudev used to struggle to get funds because people will not give enough dakshina at all. 7 days yajna. On 6th day evening, which is the penultimate day, what is the tradition of Chinmay Mission? That everybody must have the envelope. When the person walks in, the envelope is given to them. Because Gurudev will explain that evening about the envelope. Then next day, Guru Dakshina ceremony will happen. Organizers forgot to give envelope to people. And Gurudev has the envelope on the table they have kept, but people don't have. As usual, Gurudev took and he started explaining, and immediately he saw people looking at each other and searching where is the envelope, etc. He stopped. He looked at the organizers and he said, "Where is the envelope? Has it not been given?" So the organizer came running and said, "Sorry, Swamiji, we forgot." Gurudev said, "I will not take Guru Dakshina." Just think about it, 7 days of his hard work there in that city doing the Jnana Yajna when the projects of the mission need funds. And he said, "I will not take." How many years you have been organizing? Where is your alertness? I mean, he said that off the stage, but he said, people said, "Sorry, Swamiji, please forgive us." He said, "No, you should have been alert." This is our master who lived with such discipline and who inculcated that in the minds of people that you have to, even the Guru Dakshina process, he streamlined even that much. That everybody will come in line, 2 lines come from the center, put the GD, go on the sides, and while that is happening, the chanting has to happen. Everything systematically, meticulously planned and executed perfectly. Why? Because it is the divine work. Not that he wanted ego for himself, that, Swami Chinmayananda is a very disciplined person. No, it is the work of the Lord, and the work of the Lord has to be done with discipline. Otherwise, nothing great can be achieved. So we serve as an army, courageous and disciplined. And always remember, this is a saying of Sadhu Vaswani, that reward of service is more service. Reward of service, if somebody expects praise, recognition, etc., that person is still not grown mature enough. If you serve well, you are an instrument who is available for the Lord's work. The Lord will reward you with more service. Don't get pressurized saying, "Oh God, I have to do so many things." Be happy that Bhagwan has given the opportunity, because you are available and you are building your credibility and you are a fit instrument for the divine work. So one should act with that bhavana, that I am here to serve, and if people are bringing projects, they are wanting me to get involved. Of course, one can choose, prioritize those things one does, no doubt. But the point is, if more seva comes your way, it is only a good sign that Chitta Shuddhi is happening and Bhagavan is providing opportunities to serve. So we serve as an army. Service must be with discipline. We just saw about Gurudev discipline. Many instances one can give. One person early morning brought 1 cup of tea, and he is a committee member for so many years, and one drop of tea had fallen in the saucer. Gurudev returned the tea. He said, "I am not standing on a railway platform. Where was your mind?" Think about that. Somebody was folding the letters and putting in the envelope. So same size of envelope is available. So every letter is going in that. One was a small note that Gurudev gave. That note also went into that big envelope. Gurudev took that, resized the whole envelope and made it proper. And then he told that person, "Don't compromise. This is God's work. Be alert." Like that, many instances. He lived in a very disciplined way. It was not a show of discipline. He himself was like that, so disciplined. So we serve as an army. Imagine an army which doesn't have discipline. It can't function. The enemy will finish the army. So we serve as an army, not fight as an army. Otherwise, we fight with each other. We serve as an army. Army means what? Army has a mission. very disciplined, ready to follow the instructions of the leader, united and can sacrifice, will always put oneself before the other. So the army credo, it says that, the country first, then my team members, and then me. Army means that. The cause which I represent comes first, my team members come next, and finally me, not the opposite. So we serve as an army, courageous and disciplined. And the beauty here is whoever follows the leader is eligible to become the leader. A great leader is one who has been a great follower or who is a great follower. If I cannot follow a leader, I myself cannot be a good leader. It's impossible. They go hand in hand. So here it is, we stand as one family, bound to each other with love and respect, is togetherness and empathy. We serve as an army, courageous and disciplined. So discipline we saw, army we saw. Now courageous and disciplined. Why do we need courage? Internally, we need courage to overcome our own limitations and put aside our ego. Externally, we need courage because there are various forces that may not allow us to do the selfless work. We may have to fight some of those forces which are destroying our culture, destroying the harmony in the country. So, a spiritual student will be fearless. If I am a student of spirituality and I am very timid and I feel scared of little things, then I am not following spirituality properly. An army is fearless. In the face of the greatest danger, the army will go and finish the enemy. I'm not saying we should go and fight and kill people. All I'm saying is the cause that we represent, we must be courageous to stand up for that cause. Like simple thing today, if we have to say that I am a proud Hindu, what is wrong in saying I am a proud Hindu? But many people won't say, no, don't say I'm a Hindu. Why? You will be branded as a fundamentalist or a fanatic or a, today they say bhakt. ये तो भक्त है, हम तो secular है. So one doesn't want to proclaim also. One doesn't want to take a stand. Look at the web series, one after the other, they go on maligning Hindu gods. Movies that come out, media does that. On social media, there is a war happening. Our Hindu girls are being, allured and conversions are happening. Some of them are being killed for not converting. What all is happening? But no, we are peace-loving people. We are ahimsavadi. We will never raise voice. Wonderful. Till your home comes and gets ransacked, keep sitting like that. We are not docile, people who are meek. The only culture which has survived 800 plus years of invasion is Sanatan Dharma. Show me one culture in the world which has survived it. Every other culture has become extinct. How have we survived it? Because there is fighter spirit, instinct within us in our spirituality itself. And so many great kings, so many great people have given their lives not to convert, not to fall for the atrocities of the enemies, attackers. How many people have given up their lives, but they have not converted? That requires courage. People have been skinned alive. How many people have given up their lives in such terrible ways? They have been roasted alive, skinned alive, eyes have been gouged out. One Sikh guru, he was fed the heart of his own child. What all has not happened in this country? And this is the only country in the whole world which has decorated all the invaders through the names of the streets and monuments and whatnot. And if somebody is saying that this should not happen, everybody starts protesting, and we also feel no, we can't, it's okay. हम सब भाई है. What भाई? When the clarity has to be there, where we have to stand up, we have to stand up. Otherwise, we believe in Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. Everybody will live coexist harmoniously in this country. But if they are attacking and destroying us, then we have to be also very clear that I have to defend. So courage is required internally and externally. Because if we hesitate, we will live in compromise. As a seeker also we will compromise, outside also we will compromise. Now this doesn't mean I go around bullying people, torturing them. That is not what we want. That is not courage. Just like seva is with discipline, courage also is with discipline. Army is courageous but is completely disciplined. It will not go and fire whenever, whatever they feel like. If the leader says, then only, otherwise no. So what I mean to say here is, what cause we stand for, we should be uncompromising in that. Gurudev said, Hindu revival, Tapon Maharaj's Aradhana Day was yesterday. When Tapon Maharaj took Mahasamadhi, what did Gurudev say? He said so beautifully and very, very important words. I just want to read that for you, because many times we forget these things. That what did Gurudev say when Tapon Maharaj took Samadhi? He spoke about Hindu revival. Gurudev. His words at that time are very, very powerful. We should not ever forget that. In Chinmay Pradeep, when we had made on Tapon Maharaj's the enclosure which is there on the glass doors, also we have put this. See here, he says, ours, 16 January 1957, when Videha Mukti happened, Tapon Maharaj took Videha Mukti, that time Gurudev said, ours is a great responsibility. We, his Shishya family, have to see that he finds an ample field in our individual bosoms to express himself. It is not sufficient that we evolve ourselves. We must learn to release him to be visible here. It is a glorious chance now to take a sacred oath upon ourselves that we shall not rest contented until he is fulfilled. Hindu revival is Tapovan Vratam. Look at that line. That one line summarizes so many things. Hindu revival is Tapovan Vratam. Our culture's glory must go to the masses. People must be proud of their culture, be ready to live that culture, propagate that culture, protect that culture. That is what is our work. Hindu revival is Tapovan Vratam. And don't say this is all politics. Culture is much before politics. So it is our Rishi Rina. And this requires courage. In our own way we can do. When we start classes, when we teach Gita chanting, when we reach out to do some seva, everywhere we spread our culture to people. And where it is required to take up some bigger projects, bold projects, which will initiate, like today in the morning in Mahalakshmi Mandir, the Gayatri Havan happened. Now we have brought some of the people who generally are not even allowed by people to take part in such rituals and activities. They are kept away. That is a decadent Hinduism. When we say cultural revival, we are integrating the entire Hindu community. A whole section of our community has been left aside because of the decadent Hindu culture. That has to be brought together. So these are steps. Like that, we have to see how to ensure that Hindus feel the glory of their culture, they feel the beauty of it, they live that culture, propagate it, and they are ready to protect it. It should spread everywhere. Beyond the boundaries of caste, community, creed, gender, Gurudev made this knowledge open to everybody. We must ensure that the masses we are able to reach, class and mass must come together. It will never be that Chinmay Mission caters only to English speaking audience or elite audience. That is not what Gurudev wanted. He wanted us to spread the knowledge to everybody. So our vision must be that. So be courageous to think big. And by thinking big, we don't mean only building big buildings. Thinking big meaning, how will I reach maximum people this knowledge? How will I inspire them in a most positive way, in an innovative way? That is called thinking big. So we serve as an army, courageous and disciplined. This is an important aspect. So before I conclude, the first line we have completed, second line we are only in half. So for first line, we must ask ourselves these questions. The introspection questions for this are: we stand as one family. Do we stand as one family? Whether it's in my individual home or in the Chinmay family. What is it that I am doing to develop togetherness in the team? What is my contribution to keep the team together, to keep the family together? Do I love myself and respect myself truly? Or am I self-obsessed, that I think only about I, me and mine all the time? What are my attachments because of which I feel that I need these things, then only I will be happy? Because that is why we get stuck in self-obsession. Am I genuinely concerned about people? Because love and respect means a genuine concern. Do I respect my team members and express love? Because many times we respect but we don't express love, or we love but we don't respect. So expression of respect and love, am I engaging in that? Do they know? Don't say that it's all there, Swamiji. They can understand, they can feel. Express it also in words, in actions. Who are the team members whom I ignore or even condemn? And why do I do that? Don't always say, no, it is their fault, it is their problem only. They also may have certain limitations, no denial, but we also have certain prejudices. We have to work on this. Because we also have limitations. If we only see limitations, then we are going to be excluding ourselves, others, everybody. So each one has to see the positives of the other, as well as know the limitations and come to the middle ground, learn to work harmoniously. So these are a few questions that we should ask ourselves. And for today, I will stop here. Right. Any questions for today? All right. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.